sharing. We are live. Hey, y'all. I am super excited to introduce to you many of you who don't know Paul Slac, but he is our Cuddlist celebrity right now. So I'd love to share with you. Before I go into doing a lot of introductions, Paul has a special request. So if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this later, or watching it on YouTube, search Paul Slac, S-L-A-C, on Facebook. Send to him your best blowing kisses. Mwah! Short 2-second video. This means a lot to Paul. So if you're seeing this, we'd love to have you contribute your best kissing face, blowing kisses. And Paul, tell us why this even matters to you.
I've grown up with my family thinking, oh, mother's not nurturing enough. Big deal. That's been the attitude around my family. And so in like the last 10 years, I had, just for the heck of it, looked up the idea of therapeutic cuddling and touch, those kind of things. And in the last year, found, I think you first. I think you were, your videos came up first in my feed.
And so okay, before you even had a session with a cuddlist, a cuddling professional, what was it about blowing kisses to you that felt really good?
Honestly, probably the only steady nurturing care I have received probably in years. And even then, probably, here and there, maybe a hug or nothing steady. So you've been my first steady nurturing care person in probably years.
Online, and it's all online. I haven't had a chance to meet you, Paul, yet, but one day we will meet.
Yes, but it does go to the heart still.
You do feel it.
Yeah.
Touch depravity is really real, and you've been able to experience this for a really long time. So I'm going to introduce the video. So Cuddlist did a video on touch and disabilities, and our fantastic Ilya Parker was the one that did the video with you, and she's amazing. And so I'm going to share, we're going to go through this together, and I may pause it and we talk about it as we go along and just hear what you have to say about disabilities and touch. Just to come up. Share the screen, and here we go. Press play.
Disability is Spina Bifida. My spinal column wasn't fully formed at birth, which can cause different kinds of functional and sensation issues.
That's you, Paul. There you are. Yay! That's Paul, everybody. I just wanted to make sure we all could get you look at your beautiful smile.
Ooh.
You look great. You have a fantastic
thank you.
smile. Love it.
And I did want to mention, she was holding my hand specifically because I physically felt it was like she was miles away from me, even though she initially, when we were doing this interview, she was only a few feet away, but she felt like miles away.
And that when you have something that's just out of reach, it's even more difficult, I'm sure, than when it's when it's like right now we're thousands of miles away, but when it's right there, you're just like, please just touch me. I get that.
Yes. And I believe I've said this to you about your videos. It's sometimes easier that when I see your videos and get what I call the closing with you blowing kisses. sometimes that's felt easier than maybe you being 2 states away, but it being really difficult just to get over there for maybe two minutes of your time, you know?
Yeah, I can completely understand like how that can affect things. I'm realizing that I'm going to be getting emails. Okay, so sorry. So let's continue watching the video.
Okay.
Feel like I have many people in my life that are touch avoidant, that I never ask for a hug. Being touched by doctors, obviously very clinical. Growing up with all those operations, having a family that did not value nurturing care, I probably in some ways have been seeking it out my whole life. I'm hoping that today.
So I think I'm going to stop here real quick because I think this is part of the story that's people don't understand. That I think that the people that have disabilities are kind of what I would put them in a category of being like untouchables, where we're afraid to get close. We don't know what to do. They're, we see them as fragile. We see like you let the doctors take care of that, right? Or the nurses, and that can be really, difficult. And I'm sure you've grown up with this.
Yep.
Can you share one extra idea about that?
Well, I was just thinking, as an adult, I have, when I was able to make my own choices about primary care doctors and whatever, I've preferred female doctors. Not to sound sexist, but figuring they're more likely to have the softer, more nurturing kind of personality.
Right. Absolutely. I can see why you want to have someone that's more nurturing, or at least has more of the capacity or been conditioned, right, to be that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to continue putting the video on.
If there's anything that feels uncomfortable to you physically or emotionally, you'll let me know. Thank you. Can I get another hand? Hello. Thanks. Cuddlist is a way for people to get their touch needs met. It addresses touch deprivation, intimacy in a non-sexual, safe way. We make the intention for the time together.
Since we just saw that image and it just passed us already, is there a favorite position that did you enjoy that one where you're reclining back into Ilya, or is there a different position that felt better for you?
I think that's probably my favorite position.
I'm gonna go back so we can see that better. That one right there?
Yeah.
That looks really comfortable.
Oh yeah. I wish my legs could have been straighter. My knees are so tight that I couldn't straighten my legs really, but would have been even better if she could have wrapped her legs around me too.
That would have been nice. Do you think that having any kind of support around your legs would have been better, like a thick pillow, or could there have been any kind of modification that would have helped that?
Well, in a later session, what we did was I sat sideways against her, against one leg, and she kind of scissored the other leg over my lap.
Yeah.
And having her arms around me.
You know, the other thing is you don't know how tall I am or what I look like standing. I can say the reason why I love the octopus, and that's my cuddle spirit animal, is because I have very long legs.
Oh.
My inseam is it's a 34.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if you're familiar with like those kind of numbers, but like like most guys I know are like a 30, maybe 32. So I'm really tall, like, so I can do that. Like, I think it also depends on the practitioner. They may be able to actually wrap because their legs are just longer.
Yeah. Yeah. I am so short. Mine's 21. Not, huh?
Yeah, I get you.
So anyway.
Yeah, it could be different body types, right? So depending on the practitioner, it can really make a big difference. And then modified with getting on your side. So enough about me. I don't need to talk more about me. I'm gonna go to the video.
Make the intention for the time together to be caring, to be close.
The session of emotionally centered based on my emotional needs and requests. It's healing for that time, hoping that internalize the idea of safety, support.
I like that you mentioned the emotional side. So often people think of cuddling as a purely physical experience, but it's like you really maximized on the emotional side of it. Can you share a little bit about how you were able to engage the emotional?
Well, for me, it's always been emotional. I mean, there's been so much concentration on my physical body. I always knew that need was there. So I've even spent time with somebody that was cuddling me, but seemed to have a more physical health kind of background or interest. So while the physical was great, I'm glad I connected more with Ilya.
So yeah, it's equally important for a lot of people. Sometimes people want more, even just more emotional, not so much physical, sometimes more physical, but it's been able to listen to the client, listen to you, and hear what your needs are. And I'm so happy you were able to advocate for yourself and find someone that matched better with your needs. So I think that's great. Thank you for even mentioning it in the video. I'll continue.
What I've heard from Steve is that he's safe and he feels happy with being touched. People sometimes have a misconception of, oh, isn't it sad I want to touch you?
Anything meant from the heart. Any touch meant from the heart.
But I don't feel that way. There must have probably once been the same stigma for going to see a counselor. Oh, sad that she has to see a counselor. Doesn't she have any friends who listen to her counsel?
For me, touch can be as important as air or food. Touch is pretty much what I need most, but hasn't been in life. Having some care enough about me to spend time having their arms wrapped around me and supporting my needs, really great.
I'm really proud of my clients, no matter who they are, walking through the door and saying, to be touched, an act of courage and bravery. And I'm proud of them.
So I that's really beautiful. One of the things that you said there that I loved was air, you putting touch up there with air and food, like a basic need. And that's not just exclusive to you, Paul. It's really much everyone, right?
Yeah.
And your story around it is deeply moving because you've received a lot of touch, but it hasn't been nurturing. You've had people poke and prod at you for your entire life.
Right.
And yeah. Did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just thinking, I've some years back, again, being able to handle my own care needs, I started receiving personal care attendant services. And my personal goal, well, the program's about helping people with disabilities with daily life activities, just the basic eating, dressing, bathing, whatever. But for me, what I was hoping for was care support from people that would do it in a way where I could feel that sense of nurturing. Like I did have a personal care attendant for a little while that actually did cuddle with me for when we had spare time.
And then what, that relationship end?
Yeah, she had so many health problems herself that it wasn't working out. I mean, in a month, maybe she'd show up once out of like eight shifts she was supposed to do. So I had this brilliant idea of letting her go and hoping somebody else would be able to fill the role just as well. And I'm still looking. So, yeah.
So thank you so much for bringing more awareness to this issue. I find that touch and people with disabilities, and there's so many other groups as well, but like especially those who have had a lot of medical touch, but not a lot of nurturing touch. And if you were to, this is something I'd love to hear you answer. Let's say someone out there is able-bodied, has never experienced a disability or doesn't know anything about physical disabilities, but what can they do? Like, what can just a person that may know some people in their life that have disabilities or who are wheelchairs or whatever it may be, like, what would you recommend? How can they make the world more touch accessible for people with disabilities?
Even basic inclusion in activities. I've seen situations where, or been in situations where, people would be around, sitting around in a circle or something, like at a workshop or something. I remember as a kid, music time in school, me sitting in my wheelchair, the kids on the floor, possibly being wrapped in a nurse's aide or a teacher's aide's arms, and being so jealous. So if they included me or invited me down, it would have been nice.
Is it appropriate for people that are able-bodied to, if they know someone personally that's has a disability or is in a wheelchair, for them to go, may I give you a hug?
You're kind of breaking up. Is it appropriate? I didn't hear.
To ask that person, may I give you a hug?
Sure. Like anybody else, why not?
Right? What other kind of touch would you feel be okay for someone to ask? So of course, we're doing consent here. So if someone wanted to give touch to someone with a disability, what might be some ways in which they can ask? What would feel good? Just some ideas like people can start thinking about.
Oh, interesting question. I don't know. Sort of just.
I realized I didn't prep you for this question.
I guess the idea of just if you see somebody looking lonely or whatever, and needing some level of support, yeah, just go up to them and ask if you could sit with them, you know, if they're perhaps invite them to hold their hand or something like that. Honestly, I don't know.
Would they could say no, I guess. That might
Yeah.
feel very intruding as well.
Mhm. Yeah, and yes, I'm kind of probably speaking from a very much deprivation point of view. I quick story if I could. There was this woman that I volunteered for a small project. I guess I didn't remember who she was. Came up to me in a parking lot offering me a hug. And I was like, sure. Somebody offering me a hug. I'm not gonna, they're not holding a knife or a gun. So yes, of course I'm gonna go for the hug.
Do you think that would you say this statement is true, that people with disabilities are less touched than able-bodied people?
I don't know about quantity. We're probably, for healthcare reasons, touched possibly a lot more, depending on physical needs. But in terms of real nurturing care and touch, very deprived.
Okay. No, I'm just, because a lot of this conversation hasn't happened, right? So this is all kind of still new. We're exploring this this industry, this area in our cuddling and our touch. So thank you so much for just the time you've given me. It's kind of a long video, but it's worth it because I think the message needs to get out there. People need to start thinking about how to bring touch accessibility to people with disabilities, just like yourself. And I want to remind you, there was a request I made at the beginning of the video. I'd like to make it again now. Look up Paul Slac, S-L-A-C, on Facebook. And if you are so inclined, send him a video, just 2 seconds. Mwah! Sending him tons of kisses. It means a lot to him. He loves to receive them. They do reach his heart. It is a way to show affection. So Paul, I'm sending you yours right now. Are you ready for it? Can you see it?
Yep.
Even get a balloon kiss. I blew it so it gets there faster.
It's right in there.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for watching Facebook Live. Those of you on YouTube, thanks for watching to the end. This is pretty amazing if you watched. And say goodbye.